Okay. So, am I audible to everyone? Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Very good. Very good. How
We
about
can't. Me and Magda can't get enough. We are back here.
that? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good. You guys can practice along with the classes, and that would be great.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So let's begin today's session. Yeah, back and neck straight. Just gently close the eyes and start observing your breath. Just watching the natural flow of the breathing. And keeping the body as relaxed as possible. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. And prepare yourselves for chanting Om one time, followed by the Shanti mantra. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Sarve santu nira. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet. Ma kaschit dukhabhag. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just feel the vibrations. Join both the palms together in front of the chest and rub the palms together. Place them on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes. Come back with a smile. And namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So today we are starting again with the pranayama classes. So back to the basics. Yeah. So let's just begin with the basic introduction. These are going to be your pranayama classes, and we are going to go ahead and practice more and more and go deeper with each and every practice, especially if you have been practicing before. These classes are going to help you to go and experience everything much more deeply. So let's just start with the basic meaning of pranayam. Pranayam. Yeah. So this word is generally misunderstood when we come to the practices of yoga, right? But they have a very deep meaning and an impact on our entire system, because uh, unlike asanas, these uh, try to work on a much more subtle level. So asanas also work on a very subtle level, but most of us are not aware or not doing the asanas correctly, so we are not able to experience that subtle effect of the asana. But when it comes to pranayam, there is very less movement in the body. In fact, the body needs to be stable while you do pranayam. So you are at least able to, experience the subtle effects of pranayam a little bit more than you are when it comes to asanas. So pranayam can be understood in two different ways, and generally it is understood as a practice of controlling the breath, right? So when we divide the word as prana plus yama, we are saying that control of prana. Prana is the life force, and I will talk more about this life force. However, just to briefly understand pranayam, we can divide it into these two parts: prana and yama, right? So prana is your first part, and yama, yama, is your second part. So yama means control. So you are trying to control something, and the thing that you're trying to control is the prana. Okay, and I will go in detail about what prana is, so don't worry. Yeah. uh, then another way of splitting the same term, which gives a much more holistic meaning to the word pranayam, is prana plus ayam. So prana, and then the second division that we have is ayam, ayama. So expansion of this mysterious thing called prana, right? So expansion or extension of prana can also be understood as pranayam, and this is a much more holistic meaning when we are talking of pranayam, because we are not just merely working on controlling something, we are actually controlling it for a reason, and that reason can be understood through the second meaning that I have written, which is expansion of the prana, right? So we are somewhere directing or changing the breath pattern, right? But we are actually trying to do it to extend or expand something, right? And that something is prana. So what is this prana? When we talk of pranayam, the word prana pops up again and again. Be it any practice, you are working on a very subtle level, and that is your prana, right? And this prana, very closely it is translated to the vital force. Yeah, prana is very closely translated to the vital force, but we need to understand this more deeply, because um this word is the essence of the entire practice, right? So there is this energy that is running the world, right, which is present no matter a thing is living or non-living, right? So if you go to science, you will see living things and non-living things. And when we talk of non-living things, we generally say that this thing does not have life, and living thing has life, right? So this is Western philosophy, we can say, where we are categorizing it in this way, where everything around you has a source of energy, right? Even if you pick up a stone, it will have some form of energy. If you pick up a pen, pencil, it will have some energy in it, right? And that is the energy that we refer to when we talk of prana, something that uh, is the essence of creation, right? And if something exists, if something is created, that means it would have prana. So the level of prana it has can vary, right? But it has some energy to it. When you walk into a particular room, you feel some energy in that room. Or when you go closer to nature, you feel some energy, right? If you see the water flowing, you feel some energy. So you cannot say that certain things are living, but you can definitely see that there is some form of energy that that thing is reflecting. That is why when we chant mantras also, in a temple, if you say mantra chanting when it takes place, so why is it that when you enter that temple you feel it? Because each and everything has the capability to absorb something, right? And that adds the pranic value to it, right? So if you go to a temple, you will see that if mantras are chanted consistently over there, so you will feel that vibration over there, because everything, the structure of the temple, it is in such a way. And the even the walls, they absorb some energy that is generated when we chant the mantra, right? So this energy, which is the reason for the manifestation of everything, right, is the prana that we are talking of. And the prana that is within you, right? But it is not just within, it is the source that led to the creation of everything, the energy that is running in this entire world. That thing, uh, is the prana, right? And it is very hard to understand it. Why? Because um, you can experience it. It can be understood through words. I can get very close when I talk of words, right? When I express this in the form of words. But when you actually see and experience pranayam deeply, that is when you get a deeper understanding of the um, force that we are talking of. And the gross way in which prana manifests for us is through our breathing. Hence, pranayam is considered by most people to be a practice of breath control, or uh, regulating the breath. However, it it's just the path, right? It's just a very it's like it's a way to access that prana, the breathing, right? Because it is a very gross part of that prana. But prana is just not merely the oxygen and the air that you breathe, but it has the power to give you access to something much deeper, right? So yeah. So when we are working on pranayam, we are working on this deep level, right? So when Patanjali ji, let's come to Patanjali ji, when he described pranayam, he said that the pause in the movement of the inhalation and exhalation, right? So the break that comes in the process of inhalation and exhalation, that he called in the movement of the inhalation and exhalation, sorry, that he called pranayam. right? So he said that, the pause. So, not inhalation, not the way in which you're inhaling or exhaling, but the pause that actually comes in between these two movements. This is what pranayam is. So, let me just first introduce the four aspects that we need to be aware of when we talk of pranayam. So, one is rechaka. Okay, Rechaka. So our first aspect when we talk of pranayam is the Rechaka or the inhalation, right? Then second portion that we talk of is Puraka or exhalation. So Rechaka is RECHAKA, Rechaka, inhalation, right? Puraka is exhalation, PU, sorry, I went, wait. Just give me a second. Puraka is inhalation. I'm so sorry. I wrote. What is it? So your Puraka is inhalation. Rechaka is exhalation. I wrote the opposite thing. Puraka is inhalation. Puraka. And Rechaka RECHAKA. Rechaka is exhalation. And Kumbhak. KUMBHAKA. Kumbhak is the retention part. So when Patanjali ji, described pranayama in his text, he said that when there is cessation of the movement of, the inhalation and exhalation, right? So Puraka and Rechaka, when they are suspended and you are in a state of kumbhak, that state he called, pranayam. Then he also mentioned a different form of pranayam. Kevali kumbhak. KEVALI. Kevali kumbhak. Right? So this one, he said, one retention is facilitated by the inhalation and exhalation, right? So there is inhalation, then there is retention, and then there is exhalation. So one uh, entire breath process where the retention comes in is facilitated by the inhalation and exhalation. These two processes are essential for you to reach the first type of kumbhak, right? And there are further two divisions in this, I will tell you. But understanding the difference between kumbhak and kevali kumbhak is what I'm focusing on right now. So normal kumbhak is when inhalation, then there is retention, then exhalation. Maybe after that also there is retention, but the entire process of the retention is facilitated by these two other processes, right? But when you sit into meditation, when you go into meditation, you see that sometimes, you do not feel as if the breath is, there or not. And sometimes when you go really deep, you see that actually the breath has been retained. Like automatically your breath is retained for some time. right? And as soon as you retain the breathing, you see that the mind becomes quite focused. Yeah. So this natural retention, right, is what Kevali Kumbhak is. You wouldn't have to, make any effort. So the entire aim. So why I'm describing Kevali Kumbhak is also because the entire aim of pranayam is to achieve this. So uh, apart from other advantages and benefits that each and every pre-practice and each and every pranayam has, the main focus and the main thing that you are focusing on when you are practicing pranayam as a limb of moving ahead in your spiritual journey, you are actually aiming for this state where the kumbha comes in naturally, right? So when we talk of the two kumbhaks also, which is supported by inhalation and exhalation, that retention, it is also further divided into two parts. One is antar kumbhak, ANTIR KUMBHAKA, antar kumbhak, and then bahir kumbhak, BAHIRKUMBHAKA, bahir kumbhak. So when there is inhalation, after that one retention comes in, and then when you exhale, after that one retention comes up. So after we inhale, we hold the breath inside, right? Sometimes that happens when you inhale, you hold the breath inside. So that is your internal retention, antar kumbhak. And then when you exhale, sometimes you just automatically end up holding your breath. And this is also consciously also practiced, but just for basic understanding, sometimes we exhale out all the air and we hold the breath. So that is bahir kumbhak, where there is no air that is present inside, but we are still holding the breath before going into the process of inhaling again, right? So this is the entire, like, very briefly understood concept of pranayam. Are there any doubts so far related to the meaning of what pranayam is? Oh,
You said like Kevali Kumbhak, like when we get focused on something, like we will normally change it to Kevali Kumbhak. Is it good or bad for our health?
see, Kevali Kumbhak is a very advanced practice, right? So, if you are able to perfect the practice of pranayam, if you are able to gain that kind of control over the prana, right, then it will not harm you. But otherwise, it can also harm you. That is why I said it is an advanced level practice. So, we are right now just beginners, but we need to know where we are headed when we are doing pranayam. So I introduced this concept of Kevali Kumbhak. But this will, one thing, it will come naturally, and second thing, you know that if you force it, then it can be very harmful. That's the thing. If you try to force this thing, this state, it can harm you. So you need a
Like if
very,
you're if
like,
you're like if you're working really focused, and if you need to hit like targets and things, then you might be very focused at the time. So is that going to create like Kevali Kumbhak in us without us knowing?
it might happen. Like, it's not necessary, but it might happen that sometimes when we are quite focused, we are not, see, awareness of breath is very important at that point of time. So sometimes we are not aware of our breathing, but when this concept is introduced, we think that we have experienced this before, right? But Kevali Kumbha cannot be experienced like, when we talk of pranayam, you have to be very stable in your posture, your spine needs to be straight. So when we are talking of pranayam, in the sense of pranayam, Kevali Kumbha is something completely different. In other aspects, it's very hard to, experience it. We would want to think so, because sometimes we feel that the breath has been retained, but pranayam can only be practiced like in a sitting posture where the back is straight, body is stable, and there is no movement in the body. So when you are doing something, right, so that is when you cannot like simultaneously say that you experienced Kevali Kumbhak, because this requires a lot of stability in the body. It is a very advanced level practice.
Okay, for Kumbhak, is it, the what happens in between, like, when Kumbhak happens, like what kind of gases exchange happens?
When you do Kumbhak, there is, when we retain, I was going to come to this only, why retention is so important. So when we retain the breathing, proper exchange of the gases can take place in the lungs. And then when you go into exhalation, that because the proper exchange has taken place, you put that pause, you gave it that time, so the toxins are also properly released out from the body, and the assimilation also increases because of this reason. So Kumbhak is a great practice, when you want to increase the assimilation of the body. So when we retain, when we put that pause in the breathing, that is when these processes of the body, they get more time, and they are able to the functions are able to take place much more properly.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are no doubts, I'll move ahead. Yeah, right. Okay. So even Patanjali ji, he said that pranayam is a very powerful practice, and he said that um, this internal realization of what something truly is, it comes when you practice pranayam, right? And he just gave these the normal breathing process as pranayam only. So inhalation, according to him, is one form of pranayam. Exhalation is one form of pranayam, and the retention which is supported because of these processes is one type of pranayam. And then the fourth one he talked of, the Kevali Kumbhak. So he said that if these are only these are practiced proper, just the practice of these natural processes we do that with awareness, right? That is come out of this there are a lot of illusions that go away just with the practice of pranayam. He has spoken very deeply of the practice of pranayam, not just like attaining some therapeutic advantage, or just gaining some benefit. He went in very deep, and he said that uh, you know the prana, control of the prana is so important, because you know the mind also moves, right? So as there is movement in the prana, the mind also moves, and most hatha yogic texts also talk of this, right? Our breath, the way in which the breathing is going to be, you will see that is the way in which you are going to be. So that is why, when you're very anxious, or when you are like in a very stressful situation, it's generally advised that sit and take a few deep breaths, because just with the way in which you are breathing, you can actually change the way in which the prana is flowing in the body. And prana is so you know it has such a deep impact on us that it impacts the mind. So when you take 10 deep breaths, suppose you take 10 deep breaths, you are in a very stressful situation, so you will see that if you are able to take those 10 deep breaths during that time. Sometimes we are unable to do that also. But if you are able to do that, you will see that after those 10 breaths, your state of mind is much more calm. It is much more controlled because uh, regulated the way in which you breathe, right? And that is the basic essence of pranayama. You change the way in which you inhale and exhale, and you will see different changes in the body, right? So just a second. Okay. Yeah. So there is a deep connection of your breathing with the prana, and then the prana with the mind, right? So all of the practices that we are going to do in the future classes, you will see a shift in the state of your mind as well, right? Which just changing the way in which you breathe, that will, and the way in which you breathe. So different practices will, encourage you to breathe in different patterns. So just the way in which you breathe, you will see that you are either able to activate the body, right? Or you are able to calm down the body. So it depends. Once again, it depends how you are breathing. But if you just work on this aspect, your breath, you will see you are able to, manage and navigate through a lot of things much better. So pranayam, when we study pranayam, it's not just related to the understanding the concept. It's how you can lead your life, right? In a better way. So your breathing can highly determine the way in which you lead your life. Just proper breathing, just not even stepping into the practice of pranayam, just doing the pre practices very well, you will see a drastic change come into your life. If you are very angry, if you're a very angry person and you get triggered very easily, something happens and you um, get up and go and fight, right? So you will see as you progress in your breathing practices, you will also see this thing, that now you are there is a little bit delay in this trigger point or the level of anger that you are experiencing. And I have personally experienced this thing, especially when we practice nadi shodhana. That practice is quite I think quite deep and powerful. It's just a purification practice, but at the level at which it functions and works on your mind, it is quite impressive. We do so many things throughout the day so that we can experience some settlement within ourselves. But nadi shodhana is quite, I have had a very good experience when it comes to nadi shodhana, just a pre practice. But it shows you, how much control and power you yourself have. Sometimes we um, end up blaming some external situation or condition, but there's so many things that we can still incorporate in our life. And pranayama is all about that, how you can navigate through life in a much better way, and how you can control of your own life. You regulate a lot of things within yourself, and you develop a mental will and some mental power, to work with your own self, right? And at the same time, the beauty of pranayama is that some things naturally unfold. So even though it gives you a sense of control, it doesn't bind you, right? So I hope, like with progressing classes, you are actually able to experience this change, right? So let me just discuss the five bodies, right? And we'll just briefly discuss all the five sheets as per the yogic concept, and where pranayama is working. It's very important to understand that, right? So the as per the yogic concept, the body is made up of five sheets, right? And these five sheets, we have different practices in yoga to work on each and every sheet. And it is because of these practices that a lot of pranic blockages, we have a lot of blockages in the body, they also get released because of these practices, right? So each and every sheet, they have their own set of practices. And to get a holistic view, you can also see that each and every practice goes deeper and works on other sheets or layers as well. So the concept of panchakosha, five sheets, panch, pancha, panchakosha, Panchakosha. These are the five sheets. So you can say, like, our body is like, um, an onion, right? You can peel the layers, right? So there are many layers to us. And these sheets can be experienced by us through different practices. Like, when you just sit and meditate, you are actually able to experience your own thoughts, and do asana practice, like they are able to experience, we are very easily able to experience the outermost layer, right? The physical body, right? So anmaya kosh, the physical sheet, the gross body, ANNAMAYA, anmaya kosh, right? So this physical body, this gross body, literally means food. So this body, that you need to feed in order to make sure that it sustains. So the physical body, the outermost layer that we experience, is the anmaya kosh. And you can easily experience this when you perform asanas. You feel each and every muscle, right? When you stretch yourself, especially when you are working on a particularly rigid body part, you feel each and every muscle, each and every, like, organ over there when you experience that stretch. So anmaya kosh is the outermost layer. Then as we go deeper, we come to the pranamaya kosh, pranayamaclass, pranamaya kosh. The prana, like what it is, this energy of an and that
Voice is cutting off.
a normal body scan. Voice is cutting off. um is it a little better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the pranamaya kosh, second sheet. So within the body, we see a lot of subtle energy channels. We call them nadis, NAD. is, right? Nadis, this is where, these are basically tubes or vessels through which, the energy flows in the body. And as per a lot of yogic texts, you will see a very common number, 72,000 nadis are present in our body. And if you divide the body into half, like from center, so left side, 36,000 nadis are there, and right side 36,000 nadis are present, right? So the entire, system where the energy is flowing through the subtle energy channels, this is the your pranmay kosh. The pranmay kosh is consisted of the system of the nadis, like the anmay koshas, consisting of the physical body, the arteries, the veins, the blood that is flowing through it, the organs, all of these things. Similarly, for pranmay kosh, nadis are quite important, and these nadis, they need to be cleansed, because if for most of us, we have certain blockages in our nadis, which eventually lead to some form of disease or the other. So be it physical or mental disease, if there is some blockage in the subtle energy channels, which means that the energy is not able to flow properly in that area, then eventually you will see that on a physical level also, you will start seeing some disease come up. Or even when it comes to the mind, because there is blockage in the nadi, so even mental disorders, they also come up because of some blockage that the pranmay kosh is facing. Then we have the manomay kosh. MANOMAYA, Manomay Kosh, the mental body. So now physical body, you can easily experience energy body, as I said, the vital body, blinking of the eyes, movement of the hands. You can experience it in this form. Then as you go deeper, you come to the mental body, or the manomay kosh. And this is when in the form of your thoughts and emotions, you experience something, right? So when certain thoughts come up, or you become aware of the thoughts, or certain emotions you experience, so this is all going on in the manomay kosh. So this is the way in which you experience the manomay kosh. Now you do not have anything particularly solid that you can observe, but you have the tendency to feel it, right? And even your thoughts, we also feel the thoughts sometimes, right? So thoughts and emotions are very closely connected, but they are quite different. Still, they have very, like, immediate impact on each other. If you're not feeling very good, then the thoughts also start coming up in that manner only. Or if you have negative thoughts, you start feeling very low, right? So both of these aspects come under your manomay kosh, right? Then we go a little bit more deeper. So these aspects of your own self, they get more subtle and deep, right? Vigyanmay kosh, or your intellectual body, right? So when we talk of the intellect, you can understand it just by simply seeing that, sometimes you feel a certain way, sometimes you think about something in a certain way, but the decision capacity is totally different, right? So you might feel a certain way, you might think a certain way, but you take a different decision altogether, right? Because if we were solely, making decisions or doing things on the basis of our thoughts and emotions, then we probably would end up changing our decisions too many times, right? So there is this faculty which is present within us, that despite any other change, you can see that still sometimes, we come to the intellect, and the intellect knows what is the right thing for us, or what is the right decision for us. And this faculty, when we access this, so sometimes you would have seen you are in a very stressful situation, there is a lot of negativity, negative emotions, but you still, come to a decision regarding something, right? And you know that probably you don't want to make that decision, but it is the right thing to do, right? So this, when all the information is presented to the intellect, then it takes a decision, and it will take the decision regardless of whatever other thing is going on. So that is when sometimes you access your own intellectual body, right? You depend heavily on it to make certain decisions in your life, right? Which are not which do not vary according to your mood or your thoughts, right? And then the closest one, so the purest form of energy, uh, and very reluctantly I will give it the name soul, right? Because not everybody believes in that, but a pure form of energy which exists within you. The closest layer to that is the Anandamaya Kosh, or the bliss body, ANANDMAYA, Anandamaya Kosh, right? So the closest one to this pure form of energy that you actually are is the Anandmaya Kosh. And it's called the bliss body because it is the closest to this pure form of energy. And the closer a layer is to that pure form of energy, the more it uh, imbibes the quality of that pureness, right? You will see as you move up, coming to the gross body, it doesn't have that much quality of the purity that we are talking about. But as you go deeper, so Anandmay Kosh being the closest to this pure energy, it is it imbibes a lot of qualities of the uh, pure energy that is there within us. So when we are in deep sleep, that is when we experience this bliss body. And whenever we have a good deep sleep, we feel very relaxed and we feel very refreshed. You would have seen that whenever you you know go into deep sleep and be are properly rested, so time of deep sleep is good, as much as it is required, then you feel very refreshed. Some days you wake up and you're just like, what a sleep, I wish I could sleep this way every day. So because when when this state of yourself you experience this, right, there is a lot of relaxation and um, you know overall bodily and even mental relaxation that you experience. Hence, you will see it again, it is imbibing that quality of the pure energy that it is encircling in a way, right? uh, so these are the 5 layers, and when we are working on pranayam, we are working on the second layer, but it is closely connected one to your physical body, right? Hence, the way in which your physical body is quite necessary to support a deeper process. That is why asana is placed before pranayam. If the body is not still, you cannot practice pranayam. Okay, and the other layer that it is closely connected to is the mind and the emotions. So you will see as you practice pranayam more and more, you will gain certain, control and certain amount of, you will experience certain amount of stability in your mind, as well as your emotions as well. So these two layers are very closely interlinked to the pranayama kosh. Apart from that, of course, you will experience the deeper impact of pranayama as well. As you become more and more aware and go deeper into meditation, your level of awareness is going to increase, right? But on these two levels, you will see instant change, right? So even in body temperature, some pranayams, they will change the body temperature very immediately. So body, and then after doing certain pranayams, you will see that either the mind becomes very active, or it becomes very, uh, still, and it's very, calm and peaceful. So these two aspects, generally when you do pranayam, you should keep the focus after practice on these two aspects. What happened in these two aspects, and then you will be able to understand that practice more deeply, be it any pranayam, right? So any doubts in any of this in today's discussion? Okay.
Puraga. It and Puraga and the other one. What is it?
Yeah, Puraka.
Rajika. Yeah, it's saying like exhalation and inhalation and the other way around as well. So
No. Actually, first time I wrote it wrong. So I wrote the opposite one. Second
okay,
one is correct. Puraka
okay,
is inhalation. Rechaka is exhalation.
okay. And what is the antir internal
Until,
retention and external retention? I
Mhm.
think I missed it.
Okay, so internal retention is when you inhale. After that, you retain the breath inside, right? And after you have retained the breath inside, you exhale, and then again, when there is no air in the lungs, you again retain the breath. So that is your external retention. No air is there, and in the body, and you just hold the breath before inhaling again.
Okay.
Mm. These two things. Okay. Any other doubts? All right. So let us end today's session.
Sorry,
And yeah.
I have one question. You have said that pranayama is always after asana, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's not before. I thought it should be before. Okay, I
No, no,
understand.
no. There are some breathing practices that you can do uh, when you start your yoga class, but those are not pranayams. Those are pre-practices. That is basically some breath work that we do. Like as we progress in the classes, I will tell you those practices. So that is certain breath work that you do in order to gain more control over your breathing and to breathe more efficiently. Basically, right now we are not breathing correctly. So just to improve the breathing pattern, there are certain practices. Those you can use before asana practice as well. But pranayam is practiced after asana only.
But I'm sure I've heard as well, like that the best time to do pranayama is in the morning early.
Yeah, early morning. But then again, see, certain things that are written in Hatha Yogic text, they are true for an advanced level student. So for yogi level, they directly, if you see Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, so asana, he didn't describe asana as you guys do it, right? He described asana as a stable position in which you can sit. So yogi can sit in that stable position for a long period of time. So they have mastered the asana. So then they can, go into the practice of pranayama, right? But for us, we are still working on coming to a healthy state, right? Right now we are not even in healthy state, so we are still working on coming to the healthy state. And so for us, pranayam is going to come after the practice of asana. But for yogi, different things are written, and it is for their level that those things are written.
Okay.
Okay. it depends on where we are in our journey. If you are at that level, then you can definitely, just start with the pranayama practices, and then there are a lot of details that are given for yogis more than this. So then you can go ahead and go into that information as well.
Okay.
Oh, great. So let's end today's session. We'll just chant one time, followed by 3 shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Just close the eyes, back neck straight. So sorry. And then inhale deeply for Om. Shanti. 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 Just join the palms together and rub them together. Keep them on the eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at the palms, open the eyes, start coming back. And namaste to everyone. I will see you all on Monday for your philosophy class. Bye-bye and happy weekend to all of you.
Thank you. For you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.